Hello, I'm Jessica Thomas, a Florida family law attorney and your host. Welcome to another episode of The Domino Effect, in which we discuss the intersection of our community's top social issues with legal issues impacting us all. In this episode, we are joined by attorneys and community partners to talk about prominent issues surrounding employment here in Orange County, as well as related resources available to assist members of our community. Perpetual goodness goes a long way, and every person, company, and organization has the ability to positively impact our community, making Central Florida one of the most desirable destinations in the nation. We each have a responsibility to lend a helping hand when possible and continue the cycle of growth and improvement in our community. It's the Domino Effect. Hello, and thank you for joining us. With a high cost of living and limited options for affordable housing, many of the clients that the Legal Aid Society serves are struggling financially from the effects of being unemployed or working lower skilled jobs for lower paying wages. Our first guest can provide some insight on how to navigate those challenges. Juan Camacho is a renowned labor and employment law attorney with the law office of Kaufman, Dolowich, and Bollock. Juan, it's such a pleasure to have you here with us today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Jessica. The pleasure's all mine.
So, let me start with the beginning. You hear labor and employment. What's the difference? Labor versus employment. Same thing?
Generally speaking, I would say the answer to your question is yes, but there are nuances when it comes to labor and employment. When you use the word labor, it kind of connotes and constitutes labor unions, trade groups, things of that nature. And then when you speak about employment law, it talks about more of the relationship between employers and employees. So to generally say there is no difference, but it's all under the same umbrella, to answer your question.
Okay. That's a good point as far as employers and employees. So you hear all the time, Florida is an at-will state, at will, at will. What does that really mean?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Usually what that means is that when there's employer and employer relationship, that relationship can end with no notice, with or without cause. The misconception that's usually attached to an at-will employment relationship is that the employer can terminate the employee's relationship with that business for any reason. That's not true. There is a boundary, so to speak, when it comes to how and why an employer can end the employment relationship. It can't be for an illegal reason. So in other words, it can't be based upon discrimination, it can't be based on retaliation, things of that nature. So to answer your question, the at-will relationship is that the employee or the employer can terminate and end the relationship at any time for any reason, just that it can't be for an illegal reason.
What about people who feel that they're under some kind of contract? Is that the same for them at will, or does the contract replace their at-will rights?
That's a great question. So feeling that you're part of a contract is not actually being part of a contract.
Right.
So let's get past the feeling, right?
Right.
So let's make sure that there is a contract. There's elements to a contract. My basis or my general recommendation is that the contract be in writing. If you're going to have a contract, make sure it's not verbal, because you can't usually prove up a verbal contract, and even if you can, it's a very hard road to hoe. So have it in writing. There has to be some sort of offer of employment. Usually with an offer, you have a term as far as how long you're going to be on the employment relationship, how much you're going to get paid, what your job responsibilities are. Make sure there's a written offer outlining all those details. Second, there has to be some sort of acceptance of that. If you're going to have a contract, make sure there's a written signature specifying that the employee agrees with the terms that are part of that contract. And there has to be some sort of consideration. Consideration is just a sexy term for saying that there was something given up for exchange for something else. So in an employment relationship, it's usually pay. It's usually salary. Right.
So if I'm someone who is out there right now in the Orange County community, I'm in an employment relationship. Let's talk about it from the employee standpoint.
Okay.
I'm in an employment relationship and I feel like I'm treated badly. What options do I have? How do I move forward especially if I'm worried about my pay. I mean, as we know, it's incredibly difficult out there right now financially for so many of our community members. What can I do when I feel that I'm being treated unfairly by my employer?
Well, I would say for the first thing, let's kind of back up a couple of pages, because before you get to that circumstance, you want to make sure you take preventative measures, prior to getting to that circumstance. So investigate your employer. I mean, there's websites like Glassdoor, Indeed. You can check, YouTube for videos about the culture, about the actual job place that you're going to be in. Having that due diligence done prior to coming into the employment relationship will save you a lot of heartache when you're in the employment relationship. So I would say do your due diligence, right? And even if you're in the job site and you feel like something's being done unfairly, the last thing that you should think is just because you're treated unfairly means that you have a basis to sue your employer. Being treated unfairly doesn't necessarily mean that you're being treated illegally. So for an example, if you're in the workplace and let's just say you're a female and you're giving a promotion internally within the organization, and then you have employee Y, let's just say he's a male, let's call him John. He thinks and he feels that him not being able to get the promotion is unfair. Generally speaking, in that circumstance, just based on those facts, there's no standing for you to be able to sue your employer for that because you feel that you've been treated unfairly. But if that woman, let's just say employee X, let's call her Jane, if she was promoted just for the sake of her being a female, that's something different. That's what you call gender discrimination.
Last question. What about the employers? And specifically, I'm thinking of those small business owners that we have so many that were impacted greatly by the pandemic.
Right.
I'm a small business owner. I have these employees. I'm having an issue with an employee. Is that something that you can provide assistance with or have any tips for small business owners who have maybe less than 15 employees?
Yes. So just as far as my background is concerned, I generally represent employers and not employees. It's usually the exception to the rule that I will represent an employee. But because I have I've been practicing for about 13 years, I've seen both sides of the road. So to your question, as far as small business owners, I mean, yes, there are practical things that you can do to make sure that, first of all, if you get to a situation where you have a problem with an employee, there's a remedy for it. The one thing that I like to tell my clients is say, look, if you didn't put it in writing, it didn't happen. So make sure for all employers out there that if there's something that's being done, you have to have some sort of paper trail for it. You can't go to the court, you can't go to the judge to say that the employee X did something wrong when you have no documentation to back it up. So if I have to suggest anything, most importantly, put it in writing. Also, if there's any type of disciplinary action in your employee handbook, have an employee handbook. That sets the expectations right out from the gate. If the employee and the employer know what the baseline is and what the stage that they're dancing on, no one's going to fall off the stage without, the rules being set on the road. You know where to go. There's a roadmap for you. So have an employee handbook. Put it in writing, have an employee handbook, set expectations.
Well, Juan, those are amazing tips. Thank you so much for joining us today. You have given our community members, both employers and employees, some really great advice to move forward. We appreciate you coming today.
Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you. We'd like to take a moment to share a few messages with you and recognize our generous sponsors. We'll be back with more of the Domino Effect.
A disproportionate number of Floridians don't have access to the justice system. That's why the Florida Bar Foundation exists to bridge this gap. Their mission is to increase access for the underprivileged by funding legal services, developing innovative tools and programs, and supporting legal aid providers and the courts. Because of their efforts, they've been able to help veterans facing homelessness, children in the foster care system, men and women who've survived domestic violence, and securing benefits for our elderly and disabled. Doing good for the greatest in need because everyone deserves access to justice.
Welcome back to the Domino Effect. We've discussed how employment law matters can greatly impact the lives of individuals. Now let's discuss the resources available to help members of our Orange County community. Joining us now is President and co-founder of the Jobs Partnership of Florida, Mark Stanikis. Mark, it's so great to have you with us today.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Tell me first about your organization. What is it? What does it do?
Well, Jobs Partnership is a local partnership of churches, businesses, and community-based organizations all working together to upskill low-wage, low-income, low-skilled, no-skilled workers in our community so they can get into better jobs, more career path jobs, so they can take care of themselves and their families.
Now, you mentioned no skill. What if I am a high school graduate just getting out, graduating senior? Am I your ideal candidate?
Yeah, potentially, yes, for sure. In fact, we really want to start working more with high school seniors who aren't college bound to help them figure out this career path trajectory so that they can really get off on the right foot once they graduate. So absolutely, we're trying to help folks do some career planning to really understand what their gifts and talents are and their interests are, and then direct them to opportunity that would allow them to flourish and prosper in a career.
Same kind of narrative. Is there an end, a cap of, can I have too many skills? What if I just am looking to change careers? Am I too qualified for your resources?
No, actually, we see that happen a lot where, let's say, for instance, women who go through an event in their life, divorce, death in the family, and suddenly they have to go back to work, and they haven't worked for a while and trying to figure out, well, how do I get back into the workforce, and how do I get connected to opportunity, and so, or how do I reskill? Maybe they can't do the same work anymore. And so that's a big part of what we're trying to do, is help people figure that out and navigate this kind of workforce space and then get connected to better opportunities.
Now, when you say opportunities and you mentioned to kind of help them find what options are available to them, is there a opportunity as employers that they can connect with you and make themselves available to provide these resources as a job opening?
Absolutely, and that was kind of the original intent of our model, is churches and businesses working together to upskill folks in our community who may have been missing out on opportunity. And so there's a real focus on, people who are in our community who have been struggling. Maybe they're stuck and they just don't know how to move forward, and they don't think they could move forward. And so through our church partners, we offer a 12-week training class that really is designed to focus on their soft skills development as well as career planning. And it's really inspiring and encouraging, and it kind of builds their confidence and self-esteem. And then there are a network of partners, employers who really want workers, and this worker shortage that we're in, there's really a lot of interest now in the work that we're doing, because the potential candidates that they can recruit from are folks that are coming from some of the low-skilled jobs, or they're looking for better opportunities, and so they can take advantage of hiring those that have come through our program and are ready to go to work.
What if I am in, a time constraint? What if I'm an individual who just needs maybe help with a resume or some interview skills? Are there resources available if I need those kind of isolated help and tools?
Yeah, that's embedded in our LifeWorks training program, the resume preparation, interviewing skills, which is really a big deal, because most folks have never really had any training in that. And so it's really important that they get that. We don't do that outside of our program. So
Understood.
If you're part of the process, you're going to get that. It's included in what we do. But there are some other resources in the community that could help with that.
Now, you mentioned churches and faith. If somebody is not of any particular faith, are they still able to use your resources?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's the whole idea, is that this is a way, and I think a lot of our church partners really love this aspect of what we do, is they want to serve in the community. And one of the most important issues of our day is employment. So many people in Central Florida are underemployed, or they're stuck in low-paying jobs and they want more, but they don't know how to get there. And so this is really a great way for churches to say, hey, we just want to love and serve our community well, and inviting them into this training process. So yes, you don't have to be a Christian or a member of a church to enter our program. And you just are welcome and take advantage of the opportunities that we offer.
Is there any cost to the program or scholarships available if there is a cost?
Right. No, there's no cost.
Oh.
We're a nonprofit organization, so all the money we raise funds the operation of the program so that the folks that we're serving can enter in without any cost to them. And then we also do have scholarship money available through our partners if they want to go back to school and earn a credential or a certification that would lead to a better job. We can help them do that. And that's really a big part of the process of upskilling. It's not just these soft skills, but it's also these technical skills that are in demand. And it really, in most cases, is entering into a career path that would allow them to really grow a career and make more money over time.
Now, is this a local, you mentioned local as far as like they go in person, they show up every day for the 12 weeks, or something there's a virtual option? Logistically, how do they participate?
Yeah, so we have various training sites around Orange County.
Oh.
You know, so they're typically located in or near underserved or under-resourced communities. Because transportation is always an issue, right?
It really is.
It's a big deal. And so the classes are offered in the fall and in the spring. We just finished our spring classes, so we kind of operate on a school schedule. And then folks are recruited into the program through the churches or through our agency partners who refer folks into the program. And so that's how they get access. And it is in person, and we do have digital content. But the classes are in person right now.
Oh,
and
good.
So, which there's a big mentoring component. Because a lot of folks just need that extra help. You know, this is it's not easy.
No.
Right? And you need someone to kind of guide you and direct you. And that's really been one of the secret weapons in our program is, you know, folks from the churches, our network of churches and business partners who agree to mentor or coach the participants through the process. And you see those great relationships develop, and they are really a cheerleader and an encouragement to the men and women that are going through the program.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Mark, for joining us today. Your work is incredible, and what you're doing for the Orange County community. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
We have another break before we meet our final guest, so stay tuned. We'll be back shortly.
A disproportionate number of Floridians don't have access to the justice system. That's why the Florida Bar Foundation exists to bridge this gap. Their mission is to increase access for the underprivileged by funding legal services, developing innovative tools and programs, and supporting legal aid providers and the courts. Because of their efforts, they've been able to help veterans facing homelessness, children in the foster care system, men and women who survived domestic violence, and securing benefits for our elderly and disabled. Doing good for the greatest in need, because everyone deserves access to justice.
Welcome back. Our final guest for the show is no stranger to the Domino Effect. Joining us now is the Deputy Director of the Legal Aid Society of the Orange County Bar Association, Larry Thatcher. Larry, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, Legal Aid Society of Orange County Bar Association, tell me about it. What do you all do?
So we do a number of things. We represent individual clients. We provide free lawyers for low-income residents in Orange County in certain kinds of civil matters. That includes things like family law, domestic violence, dissolution of marriage. We do guardian advocacy work. We do housing work. We represent tenants who are having a problem. We do foreclosure for homeowners trying to save their home. We do consumer, things like somebody facing debt collection, bankruptcy if they need to go all the way to filing bankruptcy, some student loan issues, folks who are having problems paying back their student loans, we look and see what options they have. We do immigration for primarily victims of violence and crime in the U.S. and minors. We do sealing and expunction of records, and we are also a VITA tax site. So we do free tax preparation for low-income taxpayers in Orange County.
Larry, I feel like you could have just said we do it all. I feel like you could have just said we do it all. Oh my goodness. So the Legal Aid Society is really kind of like a full-service law firm.
Exactly. We are a full-service law firm and more. In addition to representing clients with their individual legal matters, we do other things like community education and outreach programs. We will go out there into low-income neighborhoods to educate them on legal matters that may be affecting their everyday lives and how to try to prevent running up against and needing our services, but also letting them know that if they do need our services, then we're here. So education, outreach, individual legal representation.
Now, when you talk about that individual representation, I know today several of our guests have been talking about the labor and employment issues that our community is facing. How can people come to the Legal Aid Society, and what resources are available in that regard specifically?
Oh, wow. So many things. So our role with that would be helping our clients with anything that might be preventing or inhibiting them from gaining employment or from getting better employment. And that really goes across all of the different legal areas I just mentioned that we do. For instance, somebody may be experiencing domestic violence at home, which may be why they've missed a day of work, which may be why they lost work, which may be why they're now having a problem finding employment. So from us looking at what is it that's hindering you from gaining employment. Also, immigration is another big area. We have clients that have work authorization, have their legal permanent resident cards, and have lost them. We need to help them replace those cards or apply for the cards, replace the cards, all of that so that they can continue to work or gain employment. We also find that sealing and expunction of records. Sometimes somebody has something very old or very minor in their record and it's preventing them. And I want to give you an example on that. We saw a client years ago who had a record from when she was 18 years old. She and her best friend got into a fight. The authorities were called and they were both arrested. They both they were still BFFs, so they both didn't want to press charges. And we're talking, this happened back in the 70s.
Wow.
So all charges were dropped. Fast forward to, she was in her 50s. Her job moved out of state. She elected to stay, so in her 50s, went back out on the job market, and that record from the 70s, from when she was 18, came up on a background screening, and she was denied a job for that. Those are all kinds of legal issues that we're a resource for to help somebody because it's preventing or inhibiting them from being able to work.
In addition to full representation, can people just come for consultations to ask some of those general questions?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Absolutely. They don't have to wait until they have something in court. Yes, the minute that they know they have an area of law that we handle, and even if they're not sure we handle it, we would encourage them to call us, because we not only do the consultations, but we keep on top of other community resources like the Jobs Partnership. We partner with them, and so we would be able to give other options and resources, even if it's not a legal issue. So always they can call us, and yes, we will do the consultations.
Last question. You mentioned low income, but unfortunately for so many people facing our, in our community, they are facing what we all feel is, a tightening of the purse strings.
Right.
Is there an actual barometer or benchmark for what you mean when you say low income?
Absolutely. So we go by the federal poverty guidelines, which are set and change every year. And so somebody to qualify for legal aid services, for the most part, can be at or below 200% of federal poverty level. And so that's just based on, we ask them how many are in your household and what is the gross income level of the household, and then we plug that into the federal poverty guideline charts.
Okay. How can they find you? How do people get these services? Can they come in person? Can they call? Is there an email?
Oh, we have every option.
So again, this is everything, Jessica.
This is everything, Jessica. They can walk into our office. The office is open Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5, and we're located in downtown Orlando at 100 East Robinson Street. They can call us. The phone number is 407-841-8310, and the phone lines are open Monday through Thursday from 8:30 to 3:30. For new callers, and some Saturdays. We actually even have Saturday hours where our phone lines are open from 9 to noon. It works out to be about 1 or 2 Saturdays a month. The phone lines are open. We have our website. On our website, they can go on there, and there's the email that it will direct them to. There's a form on the website they can fill out to say, hey, I have a question. Can somebody contact me? So always that they can reach out to us. Walk in, call us, email us. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Larry. I feel that what you're doing is a great impact on the community. Thank you for your service as a legal aid pro bono attorney. That's pretty incredible.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. To our viewers, thank you for watching, and we hope that you will join us again. I'm your host, Jessica Thomas, and this is The Domino Effect. The Legal Aid Society has existed for over 60 years, providing legal representation to clients on issues similar to those discussed in this episode. It is imperative that the community knows when faced with legal troubles, you are and should still be able to receive high-quality legal representation and access to justice, regardless of your income. If you are a resident of Orange County and need assistance seeking employment, you can contact the Jobs Partnership Office at 407-641-0755. If you're seeking assistance on a legal matter, you may contact the Legal Aid Society Law Firm by calling 407-841-8310. The Legal Aid Society is a nonprofit law firm that relies greatly on volunteerism and donations. For more information on how you can support this worthy organization, visit legalaidocba.org today. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Domino Effect. And remember, perpetual goodness goes a long way. See you next time.